Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope that whenever and wherever in the world you are tonight, or today, whatever the time, wherever you are, that you are understanding that general feelings of depression, melancholy, and malaise that suddenly overtake and overcome you, whether it be for a few minutes or a few days, might not be coming from you. It might be coming from those around you, might be coming from the earth or animals that are afraid because of what's going on. It might just be your empathic nature is kicking in. There's a lot of reasons for it. It could be the Schumann resonance. You know, if it doesn't have a specific origin that you could put a finger on, there's a very real possibility that it's not really yours to own in the first place. I mean, I know that's how I have felt all day long. I didn't get to sleep till 5:30 in the morning. I woke up at 7:30 so happy. I felt like I'd slept a couple days. I felt great. And in the afternoon, I crashed. And I slept for 3 or 4 hours. Still wasn't enough sleep, but I felt it was enough sleep, you know. And when I woke up in the afternoon, I listened to a couple videos. And I was feeling great in the morning. And then in the afternoon, this horrible melancholy, depression, absolute disbelief that I actually have a future, that I'm not going to live more than 2 years. That kind of feeling, like, and sad about it. I don't hate myself. I don't want to die. I don't hate the world. I mean, it has its moments. Mercury retrograde notwithstanding, and thank you God, Mercury retrograde is now direct and we live to tell the tale. But today I'm just, ever since the afternoon, I have this overall feeling that I literally have no future. And there's a fear there. It's a fear that I've always had, but it's beyond the fear, and I don't know what to think of it. It's like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, like I've been punched, not really in the gut, but in the heart. Like I've been punched in the lower heart, the lower part of my heart chakra. I feel like I have zero hope. It's not a good place to be. But empath that I am, I started looking around and I found out that this is something that a lot of people are experiencing right now. I don't know if it's the, I won't say it's the calm before the storm, but it's more like the storm before the storm passes and then there's a rainbow. Like, I feel like we're one day before the dawn and it's dark, and we feel like it's always going to be dark, but it's going to dawn. The new dawn is coming. The new world is coming. The new higher realms are coming. We're going to be okay, but right now we don't feel okay. Not okay at all. Yesterday, several people reported that all of their contacts had said that they were feeling not quite absolutely angry or wanting or willing to fight, but intense frustration, miscommunication, unable to get points across, unable to be heard or being misunderstood, people misunderstanding you misunderstanding people, a lot of angsty, on the verge of fighting, absolute frustration with people and life in general. It's like anger before the anger, you know what I mean? Like when you're just between frustration and anger, it's like that horrible emotion where you're teetering between, okay, if I'm frustrated right now, I can relieve myself from that. I can go, okay, take a deep breath, stand back, look at the picture. But it was beyond that frustration, but not quite at anger. Annoyance, but not petty annoyance, like intense, powerful, like this annoyance is going to turn into some heads are going to roll right quick type of feeling. And today it's had little bits of that. Kibbles and bits of that. But today was more about maybe we should just give up. We're done. Is this energy? It doesn't mean that we should, and this doesn't mean that we should ever give up, but it was an energy that was going around today. My youngest son slept all day long. When he got up, he would like eat something like a sandwich or something, and then he would just lay back down, and he had plans to do stuff today, and he was just like, I can't even move, Mom. I don't feel good, and I don't know what's up. And he's not sick, and I felt the same way. I was in bed all day long, and I'm not sick. Having maybe a little bit of allergies, a little bit of asthma going on, but I don't know. I just felt like, what is the point? Like the sun was shining. I could see through the curtains. I wanted to open my window and have my face in the sun for like 3 minutes. And I just felt like, what's the point? And I went back to bed. It was a really horrible feeling. I don't know if you guys are experiencing this, but I kind of think it has something to do with the Schumann resonance and ascension symptoms. I have a feeling that I was abducted last night, which might account for why I only slept for 2 hours and woke up felt like I've been sleeping for days. Like if I was abducted and I was taken somewhere and they brought me back to the same time, maybe I did sleep somewhere else for 8 hours first. It's very weird feeling. In fact, I woke up feeling my muscles feeling stiff and hurting, but that's nothing new. And I didn't find any extra. Now I'm like looking, are there any extra holes in my body? No. Sometimes I have like puncture wounds at the base of my skull, but I have nothing at all like that. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just a general yuck feeling. And if you're going through this and if you're isolated and you're alone, don't go to the bad places. Keep looking towards the good places in your mind. Because we're all in this together. We're all feeling this together. Like there's a couple things that happened. Like to me personally, I had a weird misunderstanding with someone today who I'm not sure if he was trying to gaslight me, and I just started triggering me in ways that I didn't want to be triggered. I just started thinking about all the times that guys have done this to me in the past. And it made me feel like, and this guy's not even like a boyfriend or anything like that, but it's just a random, like not a random person, but a friend of mine. You know, it was just a random thing he started saying, and he was confused. And so he said, "You're confused." And I'm like, oh, I'm the one that was absolutely clear in that moment. And I even told him the reasons why I was clear and based on what he had said before. And anyway, it's just a whole argument. I don't want to go into it, obviously, just too much drama. And I'm not about the drama, mama. I'm just not. But, yeah, I was just like, are you kidding me right now? I'm trying to make a new friend here. And he might be a narcissist. He might be trying to gaslight me. And we had this fight. And I asked him a question to clarify because I thought, maybe I was confused. It's possible. And I don't want to, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt too, so I want to be fair. So I asked him a question and he just said, I have to go. And he freaking ghosted me. Now it's been for like 6 hours. And it's like, what? So this is the person that I talked about yesterday who was being extremely impatient with me, rushing me and rushing other people and just making snap decisions based on his insecurity and inability to wait a couple more minutes for someone, his inability to be patient. So why the person is in my life, I don't know. Maybe it's stuff about me I have to look into. Obviously, we are all mirrors for each other. I don't know. Maybe it's something I need to heal from people in my past, and he's here to remind me of that. Possibly. But he also mentioned he had feelings for me after 1 week of knowing me, so that's weird. It's not true. It's just a false illusion, manipulation, or it could be on his part, it could be one of those pesky little feelings and thoughts of being unworthy unless you're in a relationship. I mean, that old chestnut. I know some of those. I just saw some of those lights spark. I know when you guys hear this in the future, you're going to go, oh, yeah, that one. Where you're so terrified of being alone because what will people think of you? My God, you must be a horrible person to live with, or messy or dirty, or maybe you have secrets that you're just one of those people that people can't live with. And maybe that's true, but maybe it's not true. If it's true, what shall we do? Daniel Brinkley used to say, or probably still says. I mean, it's a lot of people act crazy sometimes because they're so scared of being alone, of not being loved. They don't want any evidence in their life that they're unworthy. For me, I feel like I won't be missed if I die, and that's not true. But it's been a part of my psyche for a very long time because being an adopted kid, you feel like, well, my real mom gave me away to strangers. The day I was born, like she didn't get to give me a chance. She didn't give me a chance. She wanted a chance to get to know me. She didn't even hold me or look at me. She said, knock me out, cut her out of me, and I never want to see her. That's what my grandma told me when I met them. And when I met my mom, we were very close, and she apologized a million times and still didn't make it okay. It was still part of my psyche, That's something that happens to all adoptees and some orphans, even half orphans. Like what my mom who died didn't, feel like maybe saving her own life so that she could be with me and hang out with me. I mean, it's like it puts a really effed up thought process in your head. And it's our job to unravel it from ourselves and from our psyches. It's like, God, we're all screwed up here on the planet. We've all been through some crap. Even the people that look like they have everything together, everyone's got a secret, you know what I mean? Like that woman who's in perfect shape is probably doing drugs behind closed doors to stay in shape. You know what I mean? I had a friend who was gorgeous. God, she was so beautiful. And she was my, I knew her from school, but she was also like my gym buddy. We would work out together once in a great while. And she was so beautiful. She had everything going for her. And as I got to know her, I found out that when she was in her early 20s, she broke her back and she was paralyzed and she almost died. And it was everything she could do, every ounce of strength she could muster up to learn how to walk again. And then she became a bodybuilder. And she was so scared of not being strong again, of not having muscles and being able to run away, if a car's coming or whatever, just like the ability to hop out of the way of danger and having that nimbleness and agility and swiftness to save her life again, so it was just like that fear of not being able to prevent what had happened in her past. So one day we were at the gym and I had just finished getting dressed. I got my stuff together, was getting ready to leave. And as she's packing her bag, I see this syringe, like this rubber thing that goes around her arm. And I'm like, do you have diabetes? And she's all, oh no, I've just been shooting up. And I'm like, heroin, are you a junkie? And she's like, no, God, no, I don't do drugs at all. It's just steroids. And I was like, oh, okay, so I'm working my ass off over here trying to get shoulder muscles that actually show themselves. I'm beginning to think I'm born without shoulder muscles, and you've got shoulders like a man. You have like a perfect body, and that's how you got it. And she's like, oh yeah, sure. A lot of the women here do steroids. And I was just shocked. I was like, wow. So her insecurities led her into kind of ruining her body hormonally, probably for the rest of her life. Puts your heart at risk of heart attack and all kinds of stuff, horrible stuff, especially with women. They get jaws that look like men and they start looking very mannish and they can grow hair on their chest and chin, which a lot of women do anyway, but not the chest part, but the chin part. But, as you grow older, they always say when husbands and wives grow older, they start looking like each other. It's because the men start to have more female hormones and less male hormones, and the women start to have more male hormones and less female hormones. So there's some scientific evidence to back up that theory. But I was shocked that this person did this. Like, the whole kind of freaked me out. I stopped hanging out with her after that. I said, oh, my schedule changed, whatever, and I made excuses because I really cared about her, but I felt like I don't want to be associated with her if she gets caught doing illegal steroids. And at the same time, I didn't want to be tempted. I kind of wanted to do a couple rounds myself. I wanted to have that perfect kick-ass gym body because God knows I was in the gym 4 hours a day, 7 days a week before I got very, very sick with Epstein-Barr virus. I was very sick. I mean, I went from lifting, really heavy weights, like my legs, I could lift with my legs more than 3 times what my body weighed. Like 360 pounds. Most guys couldn't do that. Like the heavy duty bodybuilders could, but the average man could not lift as much as I could. And I'm only 5'1". I'm just a very small woman. And back in the day, I was like super small. I was very skinny. I was a size 3. But I was lifting. I was very, very, very strong. And I did it all naturally. Natural-ish. I mean, I took protein supplements and stuff, amino acids, but I was tempted. I was like, how can I work my butt off? And I don't have rock hard abs. I don't have, the shoulders that pop out. I didn't want to be mannish, but I wanted to be like Corey Everson. She was my hero back in the day. And to meet somebody who had a body like hers, I was like, I want to hang out with her and stick around with her and see how she got it. And then I just felt like she was cheating, and I just couldn't be around a cheater. And it just bothered me. I was just like, ugh. And I kept trying and trying and trying. 4 hours a day I was in the gym, 4 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then I rode my bike 150 miles a week. I took aqua aerobics and karate and modern dance. In addition to all that, I was like a workout-aholic. And I got down to LA and I met somebody, and you kiss the wrong person, your life can be over. And it was. I went to go visit him in Seattle, and he was my boyfriend, and we kissed, and then we found out that he had Epstein-Barr virus, but it was the most virulent strain because it had been released by the Army on some certain test subjects. And they even asked him 3 months later if I had died yet. So I'm sure that weapon has been released during one or more of the Gulf Wars, actually. I was lifting so heavy weights, and I was powerful and strong and really sexy, my body was just like on point. I was always in the zone. And then I got home from that visit with him, and I was so sick I couldn't walk in the airport, and they had to wheel me in a wheelchair from one end of the airport to the other because I was unable to walk. And they saw me, I was just sitting there crying. I didn't know what to do. I was terrified. And I couldn't lift a glass of water without two hands. I could only take a little small sip, and then I had to go sleep for 12 hours. And 12 hours later, I'd be thirsty again, and it would take me 2 days to drink a whole glass of water because I didn't have the energy to lift a glass of water. And when I told my friends that I was sick, they thought that I didn't want to be friends with them anymore because I was so vibrant and alive and so physically powerful that how could I lie about being so weak out of nowhere? It made no sense. I had a disease no one had ever heard of. So they thought I was lying, and I lost all my friends. And, well, thus began my shamanhood, actually, because when you have to stay in bed for a year because you can't do anything else, you start thinking about spiritual stuff quite a bit more. And it, so it's something I might have picked for myself right there, We all pick things for ourselves that will challenge us on our spiritual path, in our journeys, in our lives. But this disease that I got never goes away. And I've had it, I was 20, I want to say I was like 25, 24 when I got it. I think 24, maybe 23 actually. So that's like 29, 30 years, something like that. How old am I? I don't know. This is not a math show, damn it. But it's better. It gets better over time, but it takes decades, 40, 50 years. In 30 years from now, I finally won't have it. My body will have conquered it, but it's, it creates like chronic fatigue. And when you work out, you can work out strong and fast and hard, and you feel great, and then you hit a wall, and you go home, and you're in bed for 3 days minimum, sometimes 5 to 7 days, depending. Like when I go out grocery shopping, I've got to sleep for a couple days after. Just to shop, just to do the grocery shopping and lifting all the bags, and now I've got to walk up 3 flights of stairs. It's exhausting. And it's something I've had to live with my whole life. My kids don't totally understand what I go through. Like, it's just weird. I think they might secretly think I'm lazy. A lot of my people that I meet who didn't see what I went through back then, I think a lot of times they just think I'm lazy. I can't work a job. I can't work a normal job. I've tried, and I've ended up in the hospital many times. Or like one time I ended up coughing up so much blood out of my lungs. I thought I was going to definitely die. I was snowed in, couldn't see a doctor. That's happened a couple times. Because I get very sick, and then it attacks, what you're already sick with when you're born, asthma. So it always attacks me in that way. But I don't know. It's just sometimes I think that when I have these days of general malaise, well, maybe it's just the chronic fatigue because it affects your emotions as well, makes you extremely filled with anxiety and depression. And today's been a day filled with anxiety as well. And it started off so happy, and I don't know what the hell happened, but all of a sudden it was just like total flip-flop, right? But it wasn't just me. It was so many people. I went online and I started reading people's comments on various YouTube channels, and it's like, no, this is something big, and I don't know what it is. Mercury went direct today. We should be freaking flying off the shelves now. Our happiness level should be over the moon for that. I mean, I am relieved. I woke up with such a sense of relief. Like, thank God that's over. But I don't know. I hope that you guys are giving yourself the space and the grace to get through it. Don't give in to the feelings of it. You can never let the feelings of the melancholy win. You can never let it win. You can't, because we have to keep going. We have to be warriors. We have to be spiritual warriors at the light. It's what we are. It's what we do. There's not really much else that we can do, honestly. I know that today the Ascension Symptoms Scale, we were at 99. Ugh. So much sleepiness, and it's just, but yeah, 99. I think it's just hitting us hard. I mean, in 2 days, we're supposedly going to be hit by this massive solar flare. I have no idea what's going to happen with that. We'll see. We're just going to be bombarded with plasma from the sun, so I don't know. Sun's going to belch at us, and it might ruin our lives. It's too bad we can't just shoot antacids directly into the center of the sun. That won't work. I don't know. All right, I'm gonna read to you though the Schumann resonance today peaks from disclosurenews.it. Today the activity was. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I'll start with the morning. I started with the evening one. Morning report, 8:30 a.m. UTC. Today we are witnessing what appears to be the beginning of a significant phase of activity. It started at 2 a.m. and is continuing. This is all, of course, UTC time. After a first peak at 29 hertz at 3:30 UTC, a much higher spike followed, reaching 68 hertz at 4:15 a.m. UTC time. Evening report at 1700 UTC. Today the activity was concentrated in 6 hours from 2 to 8 UTC. The maximum peak was the one described above in the last part of the trip reported. From 14 UTC, a constant started, but for now, light activity. All right, well, let's see. 68 at 4:15, so that still doesn't account for this crazy melancholy that happened midday, which had been early afternoon in California. So, all right, we're going to go to the Heart Math Institute, and I'm going to talk about what happened. All right, let's see. Yeah, what happened in the... Oh, no. Something weird came up on my computer, so I don't know if it was normal or not, so I turned my computer into avion mode. Modo avion. Basically airplane mode. I shut off the internet for a while. It's weird. Modo means mode, but moda in Spanish means fashion. It's like literally, if you get an O or an A wrong, you know, I mean, you can have two words that sound identical, and one can mean something super normal, but the other one means something super bad. I mean, mode and fashion, neither one of those are bad, but I've had my share of really bad Spanish problems. All right, we're going to go to this live data with the magnetometer. All right, let's see. All right, I'm going to have to fix the dates again, like always. Again, I'm going to have to pause this for a second. Yeah, I'm looking at this on my computer. It's so much bigger than on my teeny tiny 6-year-old phone. And it's so awesome. It's so awesome. It has such a bigger screen. I don't have to wear my reading glasses. Maybe that was the issue. I was looking at things that were super tiny. You need really small eyes to see things super tiny. It's I always tell my kids, it makes them laugh. That's not how it works, Mom. I'm all, oh, isn't it? All right. At midnight in California, the Schumann resonance was 126 hertz frequency. At 1 o'clock a.m., it was 123, then up to 124 at 2, 125 at 3, and it remained at 125 at 4 a.m. Now in Hofuf, Saudi Arabia, at midnight we had 86 hertz frequency, 87 at 1. That remained the same at 2 at 87 and 3 the same thing, and at 4 o'clock 87. Now remember yesterday, it was pretty, once it hit a number, it was steady for the rest of the night in Saudi Arabia. So in Lithuania, it's the next one, let's see here. 156, oh, that's huge. 156, it was huge in California as well. So 156 hertz frequency at midnight. Same thing at 1, and then went down to 155 at 2. At 3, it was still 155, and then went back up to 156 in Lithuania at 4 a.m. All right, so in Alberta, Canada, this is the one to watch, guys. This is the one that's been really crazy. It was 360 at midnight in Alberta, Canada. Oh my God, 360 hertz frequency in Alberta, Canada. What the hell what's going on over there? All right, 363 at 1 a.m., 367 at 2 a.m. in Alberta, Canada. 369 at 3 a.m. in Alberta, Canada. And it remained 369, which is big enough, at 4 a.m. in Alberta, Canada. I can't believe that. I mean, I believe it, but I'm like blown away by that. That's freaking huge. No wonder we're feeling so melancholy. Everything is so wonky suddenly. All right, Northland, New Zealand at midnight saw 84 hertz frequency on the Schumann resonance. Went up an hour later to 85. Stayed at 85 through 2 a.m. Went up to 86 at 3 and 87 at 4 in Northland, New Zealand. In Hulului, South Africa, it started at midnight at 96, then went up an hour later to 98, went up to 99 at 2 a.m., 100 at 3 a.m., as well as 4 a.m. it was at 102 hertz frequency. That's the Schumann resonance in Hulului, South Africa. So, I don't know. That's like pretty crazy, right? 369. Are you kidding me right now? That's insane. All right, let's see here. I'm trying to see our workbook lessons in A Course in Miracles. I didn't tell you before, but when you go to acim.org, which stands for, of course, A Course in Miracles, or when you download their app, they have a section where if you don't feel like reading it, or if you're driving and you want to hear it while you're driving, Drive Time University is always a good idea. You can actually listen to them read it out loud. If you're blind or you're having problems with your eyesight, there's always a way to have these lessons in your life if you are so inclined or interested. Before I get into today's lesson, which of course is another review, I wanted to say welcome to Dan for becoming a subscriber on Spreaker. I got the notification today and it made me pretty happy. Actually, you did bring a smile to my day of misery and melancholy. You did give me pause in that, and I thank you so much and welcome aboard, and thank you for liking and subscribing to the show, or being a follower of the show. All right, today we are in lesson 55. We're continuing with our review, which we should continue with really until, well, probably until the end of the shadow period of Mercury retrograde, which is 7 days after it ends. So we have about 5 more days of that, and I think we have 5 more days of review lessons. So I don't know, divine timing. I only listen to what God tells me to do. I work directly for divine, and this is what the message was tonight. So lesson 55 is just a review of lesson 21 and on. So lesson 21, I am determined to see things differently. I am determined to see things differently. Then underneath that, I'm going to read a little bit, because that might actually have to do with some of the stuff we've been dealing with. What I see now are but signs of disease, disaster, and death. This cannot be what God created for his beloved Son. When he says Son, S-O-N, he means all of humanity, not just himself, okay? The very fact that I see such things is proof that I do not understand God. Therefore, I also do not understand his Son, which means all of us. We don't understand each other. What I see tells me that I do not know who I am. I am determined to see the witnesses to the truth in me, rather than those which show me an illusion of myself. So again, the main idea was I am determined to see things differently. Lesson 22 review is what I see is a form of vengeance. What I see is a form of vengeance. Lesson 23, main idea. I can escape from this world by giving up attack thoughts. I can escape from this world by giving up attack thoughts. Lesson 24 idea is I do not perceive my own best interests. I do not perceive my own best interests. Lesson 25, and this is the final idea for the day. I do not know what anything is for. I do not know what anything is for. We're going to not point out that Jesus ended a sentence on a preposition. I love you, Brother Yeshua, but okay, never mind. All right. Well, that's all she wrote for the first half of the show. I'm going to come right back real quickly, and I am going to talk about some really strange things. This is Friday, so the show today is Freaky Friday, and we're going to talk about, and it's not what you think, so please stick around. we're going to talk about colored people. That sounds weird, but I don't mean different cultures or whatever. I mean people that are literally turning colors. I'm going to give you a hint. Some are green, some are blue, some are silvery gray blue. What the flock is happening? And we're not going to talk about Oompa Loompas. So stick around and you're going to want to hear this stuff. There's some crazy stuff going on in the world, or have been going on in the world for years, and we're going to delve into some of these mysteries and stories in a moment. If you're listening to this, you obviously like podcasts, and you probably like music too. Long walks on the beach, romantic dancing under the stars, and oh wait, we're not doing that right now. On Spotify, you can listen to all of that in one place for free, and you don't even need a premium account, which is cool. Free is always good. Spotify has a huge catalog of podcasts on every topic, including the one you're listening to right now. On Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcasts so you never miss an episode. Download episodes to listen to offline wherever you are, including your long romantic walks on the beach. Also, one thing I love about Spotify is that you can easily share what you're listening to with your friends via Spotify's integrations with the social platforms like Instagram. So that makes it really, really versatile. Just search for Metaphysical Soul Speak on the Spotify app or browse podcasts in the Your Library tab. And follow me, of course, don't forget, so that you'll never again miss an episode of Metaphysical Soul Speak. Spotify is the world's leading music streaming service, and now it can be your go-to for podcasts too. Thank you guys so much for supporting Metaphysical Soul Speak on Spotify. There have always been troubled times, it seems, in jolly old England, especially during the medieval times, dark ages, as it were. During the reign of King Stephen or Stephen, and now as I say that name, I wonder if that song, that Christmas song, Good King Wenceslas looked down on the feast of Stephen. I wonder if that's the Stephen he means, or if he meant Saint Stephen, a different Stephen. But anyway, I digress. So, during the reign of King Stephen in mid-12th century, around 1150 AD, it was during the time called the Anarchy. I don't exactly know what that means, but it's probably people not wanting to have a king. Geez, go figure. No one wants a king, right? So, this story is really interesting. Like, so strange, interesting. It's freaky, if you will, so it's perfect for Freaky Friday. In an ancient village in Suffolk called Woolpit, or in Old English, Wolf Pit, spelled WULFPYTT. I don't know. Is that Old English? It says it's Old English, but you know what I think? I'm looking at this website, historic-uk.com, where you can read very interesting history of the UK, if you wish. So, okay. I don't know. This spelling kind of reminds me of words I've seen written in Welsh. So maybe it was a little bit, maybe a little bit related to that, but that doesn't matter. What does matter is this insane story. So this place is called Woolpit now, used to be called Wolf Pit, because obviously they had a plague of wolves. I mean, you know, people in the olden days are always complaining about something, whether it's a pox on their skin or a pox on their house or rats or fleas or giant pus-filled sacks colored black under their armpits. They're always complaining about one plague or another, right? Am I right? So they had so many wolves that I guess wolves are a danger, you know, when they're hungry and the people look thin and frail and they look like they're maybe better off dead, you know, and in a wolf's stomach, I suppose, to the wolves. Wolves only prey on the weak and the frail and the diseased, which, generally speaking, that's okay. I mean, if we're talking deer, but apparently these wolves had a little taste for the human flesh, you know. So, the thing is, in this village, they spent a lot of time digging giant pits to catch wolves. And apparently they would do this during the day, during the night. Well, one day, or night, actually, one evening, a group of villagers came across two young, strange children whose skin was green. That's right, green skin. Insert here, green giant. Okay, no, they weren't giants, but they were little kids. Green children. Doesn't really have the same ring, does it? Okay. These kids were apparently speaking gibberish and acting nervously, and they were green. Now, I don't know about you, but I've smoked a lot of green stuff that made me speak gibberish and act nervous. Probably not the same thing, though. All right. So, according to the contemporary writings at the time by Ralph of Coggeshall, these kids were basically taken to Sir Richard de Calne, or Calne, C-A-L-N-E, and he took them in. He wanted to take care of these kids because no one knew who they were, where they were from, why they were green. They were speaking weird, acting weird. They didn't speak English. They had really strange looking clothes. And this led to a number of theories that included they're aliens from another world, they're people from another realm, they're parents bred with fairy folk. Just all kinds of crazy stories about these little kids. I mean, aside the fact that they weren't speaking correctly for the area they were found in correctly. Who knows what they were speaking, but the fact that they weren't really, their clothes were bizarre, their skin was green. I mean, it really sparked a lot of imagination, right? But there was a lot of immigrants from other places at that time. And they were kind of, a lot of people were thinking maybe they were Flemish. We don't understand their language. Maybe they're Flemish. Flemish people, they don't speak English. They speak Flemish, right? So that might have been it. That's a more logical explanation than somebody's matter. What was the word? I read this. This was so crazy. Someone said that they were someone's matter materializer machine got screwed up and accidentally beamed them here out of nowhere. I mean, that was like a weird theory. It almost sounds like a beam me up Scotty situation or beam me over to the UK in the Middle Ages situation. Is this time travel gone wrong? I mean, that's a theory that wasn't even brought up at the time. Anyway, Sir Richard de Calne, I don't know how you say his name, probably Calne, Sir Richard de Calne, took them in, and in one story about this, they said that, well, in all the stories, it says that the children refused to eat. They were terrified of the food that they saw. Probably would make sense if they're from another land, whatever land that is, whether it's another realm or the fairy realm or another outer space. I don't know. You know, it's bound to be way different food. I mean, God, just going from, you know, Colombia to Ecuador to Peru, you're going to get all kinds of different food. So, and plus, well, okay, need I say it? I mean, it's like the big elephant in the room is English food. I don't know. I think there's some good English food, but in the Middle Ages, was it good? I mean, didn't they come up with such famous ditties? I don't know. Pies made out of liver, pudding made out of blood. I mean, kidney beans? Really? Really? Lima beans? Really? I mean, I don't know. I'd probably starve to death if I was in the Middle Ages and forced to suddenly live in England. But I'm not bashing England. I mean, I'm American, and you know we got history. Not gonna lie, but I actually have a great deal of love for a lot of the stories that I've heard from England, and I know a lot of people from England that I love very much. So, not going to bash on the culture from like millions of years ago or 900 years ago, just to be a little bit more accurate. So, basically, these children were taken to this man's house. Probably was, you know, by those days standards, maybe like a mansion. He was a sir. He was knighted. He probably had a little money. And he kept trying to give them food, and they refused. And in one story, they were in a hall sitting down, crying because they were hungry, but they were scared of the food. And they saw a servant walking down the hall, and they had green beans that were fresh from the garden, and they were going to take it. You know, the servant was going to take the beans to the kitchen to be washed and then served for dinner. And the children got very excited about that, and they ate the whole basket of green beans. But in another story, they just refused to eat for days and days and days until they came across green beans in the garden. And they just ate straight out of the ground, animal style. Either way, green beans saved the green children, okay? So they lived with him for many years, and he was slowly but surely very patient with these children. So, you know, this guy is very sweet. He was able to convert them into people that ate normal food. And as they started to become more nourished in their diet, their green skin became more normal looking. So, obviously, at least to me, I think they were probably Flemish kids, probably got lost in the woods. They wandered off somewhere, and their parents couldn't find them, and they just probably kept walking in the wrong direction. And so they became very malnourished, and they were scared. Obviously, they're very young children, but it doesn't quite say in any of these stories, any of these accounts that I've read, it doesn't really say how old they are, but it kind of makes it sound like they're maybe 4 and 5 or 4 and 6. They weren't toddlers, but they weren't older children either. So in time, he was also able to teach them English, and then in time they became fluent in English. And of course, the obvious questions were asked. You know, why are you here? Where did you come from? Why is your skin green? And this is what the little girl said. This is a direct quote, and I've seen this on many different accounts, so I'm going to read this. We are inhabitants of the land of Saint Martin, who is regarded with peculiar veneration in the country which gave us birth. We are ignorant of how we arrived here. We only remember this, that on a certain day when we were feeding our father's flocks in the fields, we heard a great sound, such as we are now accustomed to hear at St. Edmund's, when the bells are chiming, and whilst listening to the sound in admiration, we became on a sudden, as it were, entranced, and found ourselves among you, in the fields where you were reaping. The sun does not rise upon our countrymen. Our land is little cheered by its beams. We are contented with that twilight which among you precedes the sunrise or follows the sunset. Moreover, a certain luminous country is seen, not far distant from ours, and divided from it by a very considerable river. I don't know, guys. Does that give you the chills like it does me? I mean, were they abducted by aliens and dropped off? That sounds kind of maybe what was going on, right? It's possible. A lot of paintings from that time had UFOs painted into the canvas in the background. And people didn't know what to make of it, so they ignored it. Before machines, even before cars. And here they're painting machines in the sky that fly around? What? Obviously before airplanes existed, right? Very bizarre. And what would a country that has the twilight? I mean, I'm thinking Greenland. Green kids from Greenland. I wasn't even thinking about that when I said it, but heard it after I said it. Are they from, well, I mean, Alaska? That's 6 months of day and 6 months of night. I mean, is Iceland, Norway, Sweden? I don't know, you guys. I know a lot of people from the Netherlands listen to my show, so if you're from Northern Europe, where it's more of a twilight than an actual direct sunrise and sunset, I mean, I'm interested in this mystery. I want to solve it, but if you guys have any information on that kind of, I don't know what kind of weather and what kind of sun everybody gets all over the world. And except for, the stories I've heard, of course, from Alaska, that's in a lot of media, movies and stuff from the US. But what is it? I mean, is it really like that? Maybe in Iceland, maybe somewhere near the Arctic Circle, Siberia, Russia, the northern parts, the northern reaches of Russia. I mean, maybe the clothes in northern Russia were weird compared to the clothes in England. Not saying that Russians dressed weird or anything, but back in the day, maybe the customs were very different than they are today. I mean, for the most part, we're all pretty homogenized. Sorry about that, guys that aren't in the U.S., that the U.S. created things like jeans and t-shirts, and now the whole world wears them. It's kind of weird, but and unfair in a way that we overtook everyone's culture with our country. Not something I'm proud of, although I own jeans and t-shirts, and yeah, everyone wears them, but I mean, clothing used to be a whole big deal compared to what it is now. It's very strange, right? I don't know if that's progress or not, to be honest with you. So, shortly after this revelation, the story, what the girl told Sir Richard de Calne, he decided it's probably time to baptize the children in a local church. And so he did that. And right afterwards, the little boy, who was the youngest of the two, they appeared to be brother and sister, and this was the little brother, he died of a mysterious illness after he was baptized in a church. Very weird, right? The little girl, who was named Agnes, continued to work for Sir Richard de Calne for many years, and then she ended up marrying the Archdeacon of Ely, Richard Barre, Barre. And according to one report, they had at least one child. So maybe they were descendants of Flemish immigrants who were persecuted and quite possibly killed by King Stephen, and so they were orphans. Or maybe even King Henry II. It's obvious that they were lost and they were confused. They didn't have their mom and dad. They don't even know what happened and they don't remember. Well, if something horrible happened before them, they might have been in a state of shock. That makes sense, right? PTSD being what it is. It would explain how they were speaking the quote-unquote gibberish. Might not have been gibberish, might have just been a different language. There's a malnourishment sickness called the green sickness that could have happened. There's also a theory that these children arrived from an underground world where there was no sun and all the native inhabitants were green. Very interesting, right? The green sickness, this being green and not, being malnourished. It's called, it's something to do with chlorophyll, like having a lack of chlorophyll. The word is chlorosis, and that can lead to a greenish tint to the skin. So apparently these children talked of being inside of caves and that they wandered possibly into an underground flint mine. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the rocks from which silver is produced. They're very greenish in color. I used to live in Magalia, California. We had these all over the place. They're really beautiful, pale green rocks. So, I mean, it's very possible their skin was dyed from that, and then eventually maybe their skin was stained from that, and eventually, maybe they were sleeping in piles of leaves and their skin got green. I don't know. It's like there's all these weird ideas and theories. The matter transmitter malfunction. I just saw that. That's what I was trying to say. Matter transmission. They're accidentally teleported through a matter transmitter malfunction. That was suggested by astronomer Duncan Lunan in 1996. Oh, okay, so it wasn't back in the day. Some stories say that maybe they were related to the Green Man of English folklore. So, very weird. Okay, so let's see. There was stories that the girl grew up to be very, quote, wanton and impudent. Very strange. When she married Mr. Barr, and I guess he was a senior ambassador of Henry II, who came to the throne in 1154. She was married to him. And it's said that today, England's blue bloods had a green tinge through Agnes Barr's bloodline. There was a theory that these children might have been poisoned by their parents with arsenic and left to die in the Thetford forest. And that arsenic might have dyed their skin green. I think that's probably unlikely. I think maybe it's just that perhaps their parents were persecuted and killed and they were orphans, and maybe it happened in front of them and they had PTSD. That's my theory. And then when they arrived where they were, they really weren't aware of what happened. So, very strange, right? All right, we're going to move along to the next story. This is another weird one. This is the story of a family called the Blue Fugates. Fugates, or Fugates. Blue Fugates. They're also been called the Blue People of Kentucky. They are carriers of a genetic trait that leads to a genetic disease called, now I'm going to hopefully pronounce this correctly, methemoglobinemia. Let me try that again. Methemoglobinemia. Nope. Still coming out the same way. But it gives the sufferers blue-tinged skin. So this is how the Fugates came about. Martin Fugate was freshly arriving in the Appalachian Mountains near Hazard, Kentucky in the early 1800s. He had been born in France, and as a child, he was orphaned. And he fell in love with a woman by the name of Elizabeth Smith. And, well, they married and formed a family in the hills of Kentucky. Okay. And he did not know, obviously, she probably didn't know either, that she was the carrier. She was a redhead, and it has nothing to do with anything, neither here nor there, but it is mentioned in the AppalachianMagazine.com article. So you could go ahead and read and see you can see a picture of the family that's blue, but it's hilarious because it's colorized. Like someone went in with photography crayons and colored the people blue. Like half of them look normal and half of them look blue. So it's kind of weird. But she carried hereditary methemoglobinemia. Or you could just call that Met-H. Okay. Of course, Met-H put together is meth. So That's a whole nother problem in Hazard County, Kentucky. We're not going to go into right now. Have you ever seen the TV show Justified? That's really hilarious. Okay. Great show, though. Oh, my God. The main actor. Oh, he's so good. And plus, well, he's a tall drink of water. All right. Okay. The first descendant of the family that was born with blue skin was born in the year 1832 in the hills of Kentucky. And this is, of course, Kentucky, which is a state in the United States. In case you're not from the United States, you might be sitting there going, Kentucky, what? What are you talking about? So, all right. So they didn't really have a lot of people with which to marry up in the hills of Kentucky in the 1800s. Pickings were slim, as they say. The population was sparse. And the family's descendants started to intermarry. Not a good look. Not a good look for anyone of any country. I mean, this isn't the only place in the world it happens, okay? I mean, there's a lot of Arkansas jokes, a lot of Oklahoma and Alabama jokes, but this also is a huge deal in, like, Saudi Arabia, too, and other places in the Middle East. Possibly even in India. I've heard of arranged marriages that end up, being distant cousins. But we're not talking very distant cousins when it comes to Hazard County, Kentucky, okay? So, the blue people started popping up frequently after a whole mess of cousins started marrying each other. Probably this might be where the movie from Elvis Presley called Kissin' Cousins, that it might be loosely based on this phenomenon that happened in the South in the U.S. Good movie. No one was blue. So basically, a lot of these people, they were literally blue. Like, there was this one case where a woman was said to have the lips so blue it was the color of a dark bruise. And even 6 generations later, descendants of the couple, they were born with blue skin. Now, there's pictures. You could go look these up. Look up the Fugate family of Kentucky. I mean, la 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 la. Okay, if you don't recognize my horrible singing, what this is the Smurf theme. There's a man whose skin is so blue, like Papa Smurf. I mean, put him in a red hat, he's a dead ringer for Papa Smurf. That must feel really weird to have your doppelganger as a 1980s cartoon character. I mean, cute as Papa Smurf is, who wants that to be your doppelganger? I mean, the first time that someone saw the 1975 born, year 1975, Benji Stacy was born. He was the final quote-unquote blue person to be born in Kentucky, but the doctors, first time they saw him, how blue he was, they were absolutely terrified. They raced him by ambulance from the maternity ward to a hospital near Hazard in a medical clinic in Lexington, Kentucky. I mean, 2 days of tests. They were terrified. This little baby was born with the color. His skin was like plums, bruised plums. And a transfusion was being prepared, as it says in the article here, when Benji's grandmother spoke up. "Have you ever heard of the blue Fugates of Troublesome Creek?" she asked the doctors. And she says, "My grandmother Luna on my dad's side was a blue Fugate. It was real bad in her." Alvis Stacy, the boy's father, explained. The doctors finally came to the conclusion that Benji's color was due to the blood that had been inherited generations back. He lost the blue tint within a few weeks. Now he's a normal-looking 7-year-old boy, is what they said, as you could ever hope to find. His lips and fingernails still have a purpley blue shade when he gets cold or angry. That's weird, right? And it's a quirk that so intrigued medical students after his birth that they would crowd around the baby to try to make him cry. Oh no, that's just cruel. That's just cruel. He was pretty popular though in that hospital because it was very strange. I mean, literally, if a baby's born blue, that's called cold blue. You know, you try to revive someone that looks blue like this. You guys got to see these pictures. You got to go over, just do a Google search, images, blue Fugate people, Kentucky. Some of these pictures are crazy, but it's when you have inbred blood around 20%, that can cause this. If you've got this genetic trait and the inbreeding, it will cause it. Sickle cell anemia is also caused in Saudi Arabia. I knew a few people that were Saudi, and they said, yeah, my parents were cousins, and I've got sickle cell anemia. That's pretty screwed up. I got a friend in Egypt, same thing. He said, yeah, I'm inbred. I know I look weird, and I've got sickle cell anemia, and it's because my mom and dad, they were like first cousins. It's just not right, guys. It's just not right. I mean, there's like billions of people in the freaking world. Why do you got to marry your cousin? Why you got to go do that? It doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. But one Saudi man who I spoke to, he said that he was going to marry his cousin. He said, look, I know that she's not the best looking woman in the world, and I'm not the best looking man. But we grew up together. We love each other very much, and we just don't want to be alone. And it's better, and we're both very shy. So you know what? Maybe it's better that we spend our lives together. And I'm like, yeah, but cousins, I mean, ew. I can't handle that. But, you know, it does happen. It does happen around the world, and not everybody that intermarries is actually blue. Does make me wonder about the quote-unquote blue bloods of royalty, royal heritage, right? Does that mean that they're all inbred? I mean, yeah, it does. A lot of them are inbred. So, basically, these descendants of the Fugates nowadays, they don't really have the blue skin because, you know, they've been able to traverse via car outside of the Blue Hills of Kentucky. And so it's very, very rare that you're going to see blue people born these days. All right. So, someone in this, they commented on this article said there was a girl in West Virginia that had blue lips and fingers. And someone says in Boaz, Alabama, this man says a blue lady attended our church in Boaz, Alabama in the 60s and 70s. So, I mean, this does happen. And it is very possible that it's all a result of this genetic trait and also inbreeding. Very weird, right? Very weird. I can't imagine. I mean, if you live in the middle of nowhere in the mountains, it's not going to be that much of a big deal. You know, not many people see you, and when the population is sparse. But when you go out into the world and you look so blue, I mean, that's got to be hard. It's got to be harder when Smurfs were really popular. But it's bizarre, right? This is bizarre. But it keeps life interesting. I love stories like this because it just keeps life interesting. I mean, I would love to see someone that has blue skin like that, you know, own it and get up there and be brave and get on stage, go across the world doing a comedy act about it. You know, I mean, if I was blue, that's what I would do. I'd be like dressing like a Smurf. I'd be dressing like, you know, the girl Smurf, you know. It'd be pretty interesting, it'd be funny, I mean, for sure. You know, there's got to be all kinds of jokes that you could come up with. So I'm going to go now to the next and final story about strange colored skin. Oh, and speaking of blue, there have been reports that in the Himalayan mountains and in the Andes mountains in Peru, there have been reports about blue-skinned people. And this is not from that genetic disorder, but rather people who live in extreme high elevations. And it's a lack of oxygen. That is something I have heard. I heard that a long, long time ago. So there could be more than one reason that someone is green or blue. But this next one is pretty bizarre. And I saw a man with my own two eyes that had this. So, all right, here. This is going to be crazy. Okay. Do you guys remember the colloidal silver phenomenon? Or it's still available. You could go buy it. It's extremely good for health. If you get a cut or a wound or a scrape, it's a good idea to put colloidal silver on it. It kills germs immediately upon contact. It's not an antibiotic, but it acts as one. If you're sick, put a few drops of colloidal silver in water and you drink it down, it's going to fix you up. Do 2 or 3 drops a day every day. Just keep yourself healthy. Depending on the ppm, the parts per million of the silver, colloidal silver to water ratio, of course. Well, it's usually colloidal silver, which is broken down. I don't want to say pre-digested because that just sounds gross. As if we're like, the mother bird's going to feed us. I hate the word pre-digested. It's so disgusting. But but colloidal silver is silver that's been broken down, and you can make your own colloidal silver. You could go on YouTube and figure out how. It's not terribly hard. You have to know a little tiny bit about electronics. Your best bet is to get silver dollars, clean them up, obviously, and then you attach them to electrodes in water. And there's a little machine you can make. It's very easy. You have to know a little bit about welding on a very teeny tiny scale. But you can make your own colloidal silver. I recommend just going to buy it. It's $20 for a bottle that will last you a year. I mean, it's kind of expensive for like a now purchase, but over the course of the next year or two, not all that much. And it's not a bad thing, but it can be poisonous. So you got to be careful. But some people went to the extreme. And when people go to the extreme, they get a condition called argyria. And it's literally blue skin that's caused by drinking too much colloidal silver. Now, what I just taught you, or what I just told you, is put a couple drops in a glass of water. That's normal. These people were drinking glasses of colloidal silver. And, I mean, it's kind of weird, okay? So, it causes your skin to be kind of bluish, grayish, or purplish. And I saw an article, I've seen articles on people that had this, but also I saw a guy, and I can't even remember, it was on a talk show years and years ago. And my husband and I had been taking colloidal silver, and if the kids got sick when they were little, we would put 1 or 2 drops in their juice in the morning, and we would tell them we would never dose them with anything without them knowing what they were taking. So we'd say, this is colloidal silver, it's a natural way to help the bug that's upsetting you, like, the germs that are hurting you. And they would say, okay, and we'd give them like a glass of water or a glass of juice with it, and or sometimes just under the tongue, and then here's your water. And they liked it. They're like, yeah, it kind of tastes good. It's got like a metallic taste to it, but it's not bad at all. And it would help us all get over illnesses really quick. If you've ever been a parent or you've known parents, which is like everybody, kids just pick up germs and illnesses really fast all the time. And then the parents get sick and the whole families get sick. And it's like, for years and years and years, you go through these cycles where you're having 3, 4, 5, 6 colds a year. Whereas when you lived alone as a young adult, you get like 1 or 2, maybe 3 if you're living around other people. If you live in your own house, you don't get all that sick if it's just you. But when you have little kids, they're always touching things and grabbing things and blah. So we did the colloidal silver. So we watched a TV show about a man who was interviewed for drinking so much colloidal silver that he literally became purple, kind of like a bluish, grayish, purplish color. So there was a man who was brought to the emergency department with abdominal pain, according to nlm.nih.gov, okay? And they say that he had, for several years, ingested colloidal silver over a period of 12 months, but he drank a liter of it, dispersed into water weekly. He didn't know the details of the silver and the concentrations. He didn't know. So it sounds like he was making his own at home and drinking a liter a week. I mean, what did I tell you guys? 3 drops a day. You do 3 drops a day, you're never going to drink a liter in a whole year. I mean, so this guy went to the extremes. But he had not only drank it, but he's putting it on his scalp. The guy was bald and he was a redhead. His hair, this picture I'm looking at is hilarious. He's got blue eyes, and his hair is like, his top of his head is bald, and he's got like red and white hair. He looks completely crazy. But he wanted to maybe not be bald anymore, and also it could kill germs in your scalp if you have an infection. And he just thought it does cure everything. It does. But I mean, when you go to extremes, it's not going to cure a whole lot. It's going to make you purple. So it's like an alternative medical treatment. He wanted to ward off infections and cure everything and prevent future illness and all that. But too much is you'll get poisoned. So in this case, the only symptom of his silver poisoning was just skin color. His skin color is different. That was it. But his liver and kidneys were normal, and nothing else happened. It was just freaky, when people come in, it's like, Why are you blue? Are you an Oompa Loompa? Were your parents Oompa Loompas? It's very weird. It's very weird. Usually when you see argyria, it's common when it's an iatrogenic side effect following the use of silver containing medications, which is usually what they use for local infections, because it does kill, illness, a disease. But I think when you stop using it, what happens is you go back to normal. But there was a guy who was interviewed on TV, and I think it might have been on Oprah, actually. I'm pretty certain it's Oprah, but I remember the interviewer saying, so why are you drinking so much of this? I mean, look at you, you're purple. And he's like, I know I look weird, but I feel great. I never get sick. I feel amazing. I have tons of energy. But I found out that when you drink too much of this and you go outside, it's the sunlight that turns your skin purple in conjunction with the silver in your skin. It's like totally bizarre, right? But when my kids and I were in Guatemala, a lot of travelers came and went through there, and I'm not gonna lie, I was high as you know what. High. I was so high. I was walking down one of these little dirt roads in San Pedro, La Laguna, at the Lake Atitlan in Guatemala, and I saw this guy, and I was like, holy shit. What? That guy's freaking purple. Holy crap. I thought I was hallucinating. And he got closer and closer. I realized he was the one that I saw on TV, the exact same guy. And he smiled, and his teeth were bright freaking white, and his skin was so purple. And he just kept on walking, and he's almost silver color. He's like purpley silver. It was so weird. And then I thought, maybe I made that up. My kids are like, oh, I don't know. They weren't really paying attention. I don't know. I think I saw them. I don't know. Then the next day in the morning, we were eating at this restaurant. There was an outdoor restaurant. And when I say outdoor, I mean like the tables were like made from wood that wasn't even like painted or sanded down. And I mean, it's easy to snag your clothes and get splinters. I mean, it was rustic. The floor of the restaurant was literally just dirt. There are chickens everywhere, cats and dogs. In that part of Guatemala, it is not at all uncommon for cats to jump up on the table and just start eating with you off your plate. Very weird place. I mean, I wish at that time I would have had colloidal silver, to be honest. But, you have to shoo the cats. You got to feed them on the ground. Here you go, sweetie. Ask for a separate plate. Feed the cats away from you. I was in a restaurant one time there when a cat jumped on the table after we were done eating, and my friend had fish. And when you order fish in Central and South America, many times it's the entire fish from the tails to the eyes. Everything is there. They just fry it and they hand you the whole thing. The whole thing. And he ate the fish, and what was left was like luckily they had gutted this fish, but I've seen it where they didn't even do that. But he ate it, and all there was like the tail and the skeleton, the spine. And this cat jumped up, grabbed it in its mouth, and took off running, just like you'd see in an old-fashioned cartoon. That's exactly what happened. It was crazy. Anyway, the next day we're in this old-fashioned rustic, I hesitate to call it a restaurant. It was just like a couple tables on dirt underneath all these huge trees in a little teeny tiny shack. And my God, they made the best breakfast there, though. And it was so interesting to eat there. Really good food. I mean, in Guatemala, they serve like an avocado salad and a fruit salad and toast and juice and coffee and scrambled eggs, and sometimes with bacon, usually not, and maybe one other vegetable. Lots of vegetables in breakfast there. And it's actually pretty healthy, and it was really good food. But anyway, we would go there a lot, and then the enormous plate of food for like $1.50. So we would go there, and this guy walked by, and I went, oh my God, there he is again. And we all stopped eating, and my kids and my boyfriend at the time, we all turned around, we looked at this guy, and all you could see is this like silver, purpley, bluish head bobbing along on the other side of the fence with his bright blonde, shocking blonde hair and purple skin. And he was listening to music. He looked like he was high as hell. And he had an electric grin, and his teeth were bright white, and we were all like, oh my God. And my kids were like, oh my God, that's the guy from the TV that we saw. I'm like, yeah, it is, huh? I thought so too. I thought I was hallucinating yesterday. But we really saw this guy. It was really trippy. But it's just, this happens when, Argyria happens when you've built the colloidal silver in your system consistently and repeatedly over a long period of time. And it's pretty much like the only thing that happens is that you get, purpley silvery color. That's it. But it can turn your skin, your internal organs, nails, your gums. That's really freaky. Your gums inside your mouth, like your tongue, like everything, even your eyes can turn this weird purple, and it's permanent. I mean, if you do it long enough, it becomes kind of permanent. I mean, your gums will turn gray-brown. Your skin will turn to slate gray, metallic, or blue-gray. I mean, you end up looking like an E.T. It takes months or years, depending on your sensitivity to it and how much you're exposed to on a regular basis. But mostly the discoloration will stand out on your forehead, hands, nose, any place that is exposed to the sun, and that's just what it is. It's kind of weird, right? So the whites of your eyes, if you keep going with it, will turn also blue, gray, purpley colored. And your nails, the skin underneath your fingernails will turn blue. Also, your internal organs, when people have had operations that have this, spleen, liver, everything, turn blue. Blue, purple. Very, very weird. So, nose sprays, eye drops. There's a lot of stuff that have silver in them, which is good for you. Eye drops with silver will clear out an infection. But if you just do it every day in copious amounts, that's what causes that. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my episode of Freaky Friday colored people that have weird colored skin. I hope you enjoyed this. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for being my listener and my follower, and for sharing my my crazy Heyoka wisdom with all your friends and family that are interested in this kind of strange stuff. But I've got to go, and that's all I got to say about that. Signing off now with peace and joy and the high vibes of the holy fifth dimension. Until next time, peace. Chances are you've heard of CBD oil, but maybe you're a little afraid it might make you a little high or super drowsy. Possibly you're not going to pass mandatory drug testing at work. Am I right? Well, I found an amazing company. I'm including the link in this episode's description. Okay. This is derived from only the hemp plant. It does not contain THC, which is the factor in marijuana that makes you high. This CBD oil has been known to reverse aging, help you through weight loss issues. You will literally lose weight on our products if you want. Also reverses hair loss. It also helps you with things like insomnia, anxiety, pain in your muscles and joints, and it gives you benefits throughout your body with its high quality antioxidants. We even have a vape. Would you like to try the blueberry cheesecake? I know I would. I mean, there's so much danger with vaping these days, but not when it is only CBD oil. That's right. You could vape not only anytime you want, because it's not going to make you high, but it's also going to be healthy for you. How's that? Pretty cool, right? Well, go ahead and look in my episode description for my link. And, well, start using your CBD oil today. If you're interested in the business end of it, it's absolutely free to join. It's absolutely free every month, actually. I have never seen a business like this in all my life. So you can start, well, using your CBD oil, and you can start a brand new side hustle for yourself. Hey, as in, hey, Yoga Shaman approves of this message. I love you guys, and well, here's to your health. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.